Good morning. And just like that, our 8 or 9 days in Porto are over. And now we get to take a road trip down to Lisbon. So we've got a few stops planned along the way. Should be a beautiful drive. And we get to go check out a few cool towns. See you soon.
We made it to the first town and it's almost 9 o'clock and this place is still dead. Definitely Europe starts a little later.
I think so. We could try it. I was just gonna go there and then...
Just the detail here is amazing. Looking down at the sidewalk and it's just little colored stones in a design. So, I don't know. Obviously easy to maintain, but man, the amount of labor that must have taken to put those down, crazy.
Our drive to Lisbon started here in Aveiro. Known as the Venice of Portugal, the city is defined by these widening canals and the historic gondola boats. These boats used to be the workhorses of the lagoon, harvesting seaweed for fertilizer, but now they're the soul of the city's waterfront. We started our morning crossing the bridge famous for thousands of ribbons tied to its railings, each one a small message of love or memory left behind by visitors. After a quiet walk along the river, we finally found a spot for coffee and breakfast, perfectly timed to watch the city start to wake up. This is the first actual full-on breakfast that we've had since we've been here. And there's mushrooms. Wow. After our delicious breakfast, we kept following the water further out, coming across this massive mural of fish and sea life winding along the wall. It's a cool modern contrast to the older parts of town and leads you right towards a peaceful pond at the edge of the center. A quick check of the map, and we were back in the car, officially on the road to Lisbon. Well, Aveiro was a cool little town that had a canal. They call it the Venice of Portugal. And I can see why. They had like the funky little gondolas, but unlike in Italy, they had motors, which was kind of strange. But whatever, it was cool. We had a good breakfast, our first actual real breakfast that we've had since we've been here, with eggs and toast and all the good things. And now we are going to Nazaré, which is home of ginormous waves and supposedly some of the best, gnarliest surfing in the world. So hopefully the waves will actually be running. Be there. I don't know how you say it. But yeah, so that should be cool. We finally pulled into Nazaré and headed straight for the sitio, the high cliffs overlooking the coast. Most people immediately think of massive world record waves when they hear this name, but looking down at the town side, it's a completely different world. It's just this perfect sweeping crescent of sand and whitewashed houses tucked right against the Atlantic. It felt incredibly calm and traditional, a nice contrast to the chaos we knew was waiting for us just on the other side of the lighthouse. We headed straight down to the sand on the north side. This is the place that holds the world records, the spot where the ocean becomes something almost incomprehensible. Standing at the edge of the water here, even on a quiet day, you can feel the weight of it. There's a kind of awe that comes with staring out at an ocean that's capable of so much power. It's a reminder of how small we are and how much respect this coastline demands. We just stood there for a while, watching the waves roll in and feeling the mist on our faces, before we were ready to make our way up to the fort to see the view from the top.
These waves behind me, I read they can get up to 30 freaking meters high. That is insane. This is what those guys on YouTube and Red Bull TV are surfing.
It's chilly. Inside the fort, you'll find the surfer wall, a collection of the actual boards used to tackle those world record swells. Seeing the gear that survived those monster waves, signed by the legends who rode them, was just incredible to see in person.
I know. Sorry.
Oh man, we're clouded in. Yeah.
Stepping out onto the roof by the lighthouse, you're looking directly over the Nazaré Canyon, a massive underwater trench that drops down over 3 miles deep just off the coast. When a big Atlantic storm hits, this deep canyon acts like a funnel, forcing all that water upward and creating the mountain-sized waves this place is famous for. Leaving the lighthouse behind, we started the walk back up towards the main part of town. Along the way, we passed the Surfer Deer, a giant, slightly surreal sculpture that perfectly blends Nazaré's oldest legend with its world-famous surf culture. It's definitely one of the more unique things we've seen on the trip so far. By this point, we had worked up a serious appetite, so we headed back over to the town side to track down some lunch and catch the view from the other side of the cliffs one last time.
Well, we came for the massive waves, but you gotta go down into town and check out the beach here. That thing is actually really huge. It would be nice if it was just a little bit warmer. I would love to lay out here all day long.
Beach. You're right up there earlier. Going for a swim?
Ha! It's probably a little cold.
That water is chilly. Woo.
If you're gonna walk down to the water, you might as well stop at the bar on the beach for a drink. After another couple hours of driving, we finally arrived in Lisbon. We navigated the city streets and some massive roundabouts and finally made it to the Lisboa Central Hostel. There's nothing quite like that feeling of excitement when arriving into a new city to explore.
You gotta check out the shower. It is, you'll see. You thought the last one was small. Mike, I'm gonna have a little trouble. Whoa, you're a little too close. Can't see anything. Look at my shoulders. I got a little more room here.
Let's try not to fall. We are going to do a walking tour of Lisbon today. That is on the agenda. We're going to check out Pink Street and Green Street and hopefully one of the funicular type things. And so yeah, let's go.
So, first stop on our walk, actually happened upon this by accident. This funicular behind us, I think it was one of the oldest around, and they said it was commissioned on that little plaque at the bottom there at 1884. So, that's kind of cool. Eventually. As cool as the ground is here with these stones, they become insanely polished and slippery. So if you got on sandals or something that don't have a lot of tread, you could fall on your butt in no time flat. And God, I don't want to know what happens when it's wet.
It was time for lunch. And in a place like Lisbon, there are so many choices that decision paralysis is real. After walking past tons of small cafes and restaurants, we finally just decided to go for the one that looked the coolest. It happened to be Momento, Casa de Empanada, and the food and drink did not disappoint.
Today we are headed to Belém to check out that town, and just took the train, and gosh, that was a bit of a mess, but managed. Almost got in, bought tickets to the wrong thing, the ferry instead of the train station, but thank God we stopped at the person and they told us to go across the street. Now a nice little walk to the first stop, the tower, and we'll see from there. Well, we made it to the tower and it is covered in scaffolding, so yeah, it doesn't look all that pretty today. Oh well, I guess on to the next stop, into town. Apparently I fail at Google. I did search it before and it did say temporarily closed, and I thought that was just for the day, but yeah, nope. little bit longer. Check Google before you come.
So this is the Monastery of Belém. It's Jerónimo or something like that. And you can go inside, but that's like 34 euros, 17 euros a piece. So we are opting not to because we have spent enough money on other stuff. But the outside's super cool.
Yeah, really.
We found some lunch by the bay and watched the sailboats before heading back to Lisbon. Stay tuned for next time, where we take you to Sintra and Cascais. Thanks for watching.